Hey, what is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King. I thought I would show up on Facebook and go live. I haven't been on Facebook live for a minute. It's actually been quite a while. And I just wanted to go over this really interesting Moon-Sun square with Mercury retrograding over Venus. There's a lot of very interesting correlations, I would say, or connections to this Mercury-Venus aspect, which you should be able to see here on the screen. If you give me a second, I will be sharing this. I haven't been on Facebook Live in a minute. So, like, the reason why I've been doing more YouTube is because it's a lot easier for us to share and so forth. But here, Facebook Live, it seems like it's like kind of a pain to be able to share this thing and get the word out to a lot of people. But I am here, and I do want to go over this stuff with people. So just give me a second here as I share all this stuff. How's everybody doing out there? I do have the chat popped up. It's only going to take me 1 minute to share all this stuff. Life's been pretty crazy, I'll be honest with you, but I think it's been really positive too. It's like this really interesting, transition for a lot of us, right? We're all going through this kind of moving into higher energy and then moving out of kind of lower energy, but at the same time, there comes this, I don't know how you would say it. Like we just are all kind of moving into this new vibe, and I think that a lot of it is very, positive, but like that kind of shows the shadow of a lot of the weird stuff that isn't positive at the same time, like in your face, So, yeah, it's kind of like, I guess, we are in Leo. It does rule kind of this king-queen element. There becomes this thing when you take the throne, per se, and how all the shadows around that energy of stepping into something positive can come out, like what the heck is going on here? There's a lot of that going on. So, we're all working our way through it. It's definitely not the easiest of things, but there's a lot of positives, and I just think that it's just really a time for people to not trip out, like own your value of things, own the way that what feels right within yourself, and do that with love. Like, don't take on the energy of, energy that you really don't vibe with. If it's coming at you in a weird way, you don't need to like project that energy back to people. Like, just kind of like with love, be like, all right, like that's what it is, and this is what's going down. And just kind of leave it at that, I guess you could say, right? So, yeah, it's weird. The reason why I'm like so weird, like I can't even share this to like my David Palmer page. It's just so weird. Like, I don't understand their new algorithm on Facebook. Like, I can't even share it to my own page. Like really? Like, you know what I mean? Like, really? So it is what it is. I don't really know how I'm gonna share it. So let's just like, I guess, I'll survive. You know what I mean? Like, I put it in my group and stuff. I will survive. I do want to show people this. So I do have the clock running. This is the exact moment as we're talking. We do have this this sun right here in Leo. Of course, it's dignified. And if you watch Deep Astrology this week, we got all this dignified energy: Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, the sun, and now we got a moon exalted in Taurus that just squared the sun. And this is all while this Mercury-Venus thing happened. And what I think is very interesting about this Mercury-Venus retrograde, with Mercury humping over in retrograde over Venus, is that moon in Taurus, right? Taurus is a Venus-ruled, energy, and we do have Mercury crossing over this in a retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So there's going to be a lot of heavy emotional stuff that kind of comes zing, 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 right? I mean, it's like the moon comes into Taurus, squares the sun, and Mercury goes over Venus in Cancer. And the sun is trying to have a good time, right? And it's noticing with the moon squaring it in Taurus, like, yeah, what is not making the kingdom feel good? What is not being honored in a place that's of, value? And this kind of creates with Mercury over Venus as well, just some really weird situations emotionally, and re-looking at situations and emotions, especially regarding projects, maybe clearing up some air between, some things, or catching up on things that you need to catch up on, right? That has been emotionally kind of straining you, or not being able to do it, and kind of forcing you into things too, right? The moon, when it does square the sun, there's a force about you having to kind of confront, right? Like, I have to confront this, like, and especially in Taurus, and Uranus there, kind of these radical, unique situations about, things that have to get done. This is Saturn and Pluto, right? Like, with the South Node in Capricorn. And if you notice, and I've been talking about this from the Deep Astrology this week that I did last night, Mars is, even though in trine to Jupiter, so it's like, handle the stuff right now. Like, this is like, it's all going to work out okay. Like, but stand your values down hardcore. Don't be afraid to kind of drop down, like, where your value system is, like, and where you don't feel happy, or where that you need to, try some new thing that you never tried before. Maybe, putting out there, like, especially with Mercury on Venus, there's a lot of sociability. There's a lot of, action around just communication, and really rapid too, with the moon in Uranus and with Venus. And you got to remember, the moon on Uranus itself is already an emotional upheaval, and a lot of wow, and it's making squares to this Sun Mars. Technically, this midpoint between Sun and Mars is that Uranus square. We are having a square to the midpoint of the Sun and Mars. So our whole true self and our ego and our persona are squaring off with Uranus pretty intensely. And so if things don't feel, good, literally, and it feels foreign, and it feels kind of, it was kind of funny. Craig was just in my office here, and he was on my couch, and, it's hot here in California. We usually are always hot, but it was not hot this year. And so we have all this heat. And, oh man, I got it back. And so anyway, and this might sound gross. No, I don't want people to think that my office is gross, but I had been bringing up cockroaches a lot lately. There's a freaking cockroach, like, in the AC vent, like, trying to get cool. Like, the poor cockroach was trying to get cool. And so there's this kind of, like, element of Uranus right now, these weird things that come into our life, and it's like, what do I do with it? I think with Mercury retrograde over Venus, we have to be clear on what emotionally feels safe, and with the moon in Taurus, it feels good, and what feels like it's advancing forward and makes sense, and what doesn't, it just is like, okay, I got to stand my ground. I got to use this Mars Jupiter. I got to express my beliefs, got to express my heart, and then kind of throw it to the universe and see where things are. That's a huge part of this in a big way. So there's a lot of that going on. So it looks like we got some peeps up here in here. I know it's been a while since I've been on Facebook Live, I am in the chat. So what, I don't know. I would like to kind of ask people, like, where they've been feeling with this energy, especially if there's been anything interesting that's come up, So I'm in the chat. I do have, like, about 10 minutes here to talk about some of this stuff. See what people are saying here. Oh, thanks. Yeah, what was written on today's IG was on point. I appreciate that. Oh, you've never seen a live chart before, Courtney? Yeah, if I'm using Astro Gold, so Astro Gold's really good about live charts. So is if you use Solar Fire. But the way that I'm doing this live show, believe it or not, I'm using a PC, but I'm airplaying my MacBook, or it's actually not a MacBook. I'm using an actual actual desktop Mac to that, and then screen sharing or window sharing from my Mac. So like I can get off this and see I'm now in my my Apple computer. So but I love Astro Gold. It's, I think, my favorite out of all my softwares. Like Astro Gold seems to be my favorite thing. So there's a lot of coolness where you can run the clock, and then of course you can run, of course, for each day. Which tomorrow, if we do look at this, it's like, okay, Mercury and Venus are done. Venus is now coming towards the sun, and that moon is going to square off with Mars, and that Mars quincunx over to Saturn's going to begin, and Mars is done with Jupiter trine. So that's what I'm saying is this was a very unique day that happened on this Wednesday with this Mercury Venus, with this moon squaring the sun. And you remember, even like in the last night, the moon was earlier today, the moon was squaring over to Mercury and Venus. So there were a lot of like tensions that were building around, you know, projects, relationships, emotions and stuff, and it kind of hit its peak here in the last, you know, couple hours. It was kind of a crazy time. I don't know if anybody was going through some pretty extreme stuff today, but definitely it would have triggered a lot of things. This was definitely a triggering day. And you know, Mars is about to go through a lot of this stuff with the moon, and you know, there's definitely, I think, a lot of questions to, you know, where does this happiness take place for a lot of people? There's a lot of emotions, and this Mercury retrograde is still going, and this is kind of an odd time. We do that Yod to Mars, which I covered very deeply in deep astrology. If you see Mars is making that Yod over to Neptune, and you can use the node or you can use Saturn. Saturn is going to go to 15 though, so we can really use the south node to Neptune, which is a very unique Yod with Mars. So it's almost like not falling into traps of old systems that are going to hold you back. This is a lot of things dealing with Uranus moving us forward. Uranus is direct. It is one of the more, I would say, major planets direct. I don't really look at, you know, Mercury retrograde is that. I mean, it's a big deal, but it kind of is the smallest planet, right? We don't have Mars and Venus, of course. These are very big elements that are always usually close with the sun, but more so than ever right now with the sun and Mars getting closer, and both Venus and the sun. And actually, with both even Venus and Mars, we're about to see all three of these come into harmony in the next month and a half. So there's a lot coming into this space about these directions, and right now there's a lot of unsurety with Mercury retrograde over Venus and with the moon squaring this stuff. But I'm here to tell you that we're going to make it on the other side and kind of figure a lot of this stuff out, you know. Oh, and thanks for all the birthday wishes. I got so many, you know. Last year I kind of, to be honest with you, kind of like I wrote my birthday off. Like, well, I'm just like not happy with life or whatever. I just kind of threw my birthday out. I was like, I don't want to, whatever, my birthday. This year I really just was like an appreciation of everybody sending me so much love. It was just like, and that's what I focused on, was how much love there was, and I appreciate you all, you know. So, oh yeah, it's good to be live with you all. I'm just kind of, you know, I've been working here at the office today and catching up. I've had to catch up on a lot of things. I've gone through a lot of change. We all have, and I think that this is some time for people to catch up on things. And, you know, there's been a lot of stuff going on. It's been pretty wild, you know. And so I'm reading some of these comments. Some people have felt exhausted all day. Emotions are all over the place for one person. All my relationships are peaking in some sort of way. That's a good one. I've been feeling sad, stuck, and impatient. I'm sorry to hear that. I think that we all could kind of fall victim to that aspect, but I think that, you know, things are not as stuck as we think they are. It's when we're choosing not to take the action. And I think that's what a Yod to Mars does. Is I was born with lots of Yods in my chart, so I know. And I don't have one on Mars, but I definitely do have one on Neptune, and I have a major one over to my moon, and one to my Chiron. So, you know, I deal with some really weird stuff with my Yods. But definitely with Mars Yod, I mean, it is about execution with that Saturn South Node, and it is with Neptune about learning, you know, what is in alignment with my soul right now. Both Saturn and Neptune can feel very conflicting or very restrictive, but that's only when you're not taking some sort of higher calling and or higher authority, especially dealing with a spiritual and also stepping into your authority of integrity for yourself, and with Mars and Leo, it's of your heart, of your true identity and your true self, and not being afraid to deal with that. Thank you for all the comments here. Somebody put, the downhill side of Mercury retro. Yeah, you know, Mercury retro, I mean, it's been a weird one. I mean, This one's definitely brought out a lot of weird stuff when it comes to. I've had a lot of weird electronic stuff for real. We had the internet go out yesterday. It took hours to get back on. Today the power went out on the whole block here at the High Vibe Studios. There's just been a lot of like learning to kind of saturate into things and learn to feel it. I think that this has been about not denying the feelings. I think that this has just been about like, okay, what's the feeling here? And now with Leo and Taurus, it's like, if it does this feel like a kingdom? And that's why I shared today, like it was a picture, but it was also a quote, which I could probably share with people here. Hold on. Oh, here we go. So let me add something here. Let me add a window. Yeah, window capture 2, and yeah, okay. Let's see if it'll let me do it. No, it won't. That's stupid. Actually, you know what I can do is. I can do this. There's always a way around things in the world. Oh, yes, there is. You see that? You see that? Pretty cool, right? So, this is what I said, and it was very basic. I said, Leo season, plain and simple. Add Taurus moon, and you know when you are in the kingdom right now and when you are not. Act on your true heart. Don't waste time on energy that doesn't honor the vibe. Very simple. I know it's complicated, though. There becomes a lot of complication with that. Also today, we've got a lot of fuel burning today. Let that fire kick up and kickstart your new adventure. Look at your true self and let it shine through. Feel your deepest emotions. Grasp the warmth within and let go of the illusions of your past. Create new memories. Build new relationships. Find yourself. Be a positive influence on those around you. Be their life force. But I think that also, it's about being an inspiration and being a positive thing, but also about not having to take on kind of this role of like dealing with energy that doesn't feel within your vibe and like trying to force yourself onto things. Like it's not going to work, or forcing any kind of control issues or weird situations like that. Like that ain't going to work. That ain't going to be good. And especially, and I think it's very, very difficult for this, unless I can find a way to get rid of this and stop mirroring. And, there we go. So, yeah, there's been a lot of that going on, Somebody wrote they thought they had a yod, Neptune and Pisces, 16 degrees, 6th house, Capricorn Sun, and would be Gemini North Node, 1st house, so it makes a yod. A yod is, okay, very simple. A yod is going to be a 60-degree sextile. Okay, so in this case, we got the South Node in Saturn, sextiling within a 3-degree orb to Neptune. So that's 60 degrees. You can see it right there. And what forms the yod is this 150-degree angle from Mars to Saturn, right? So if Mars is in trine to Jupiter, right? So that's 120 degrees. Now we add that 30, and we get to that 150. Now it has to also go the other way around. So with Mars, you could say that Mars right now would be trining anything over at 14 degrees of Aries. What's interesting is now you add that, 30 degrees, and you get over here with Neptune. So that creates a quincunx over to here, and it's within the range. So we do get this. That's how a yacht is formed. So and they need to be two 150s and a 60, and that's what makes them very odd and very rare, because that's hitting an exact point in the chart that is making some very odd and very, puppet stringy kind of aspects. But it creates the only way in a chart that is an actual finger of God. That's where Yod comes from, is God. So it's almost like God is pointing at what we need to do. And I know this is a hard one, because when you're dealing with Saturn and Neptune and very, feminine signs, number one, and in their dignities, and then you have Mars up here in Leo. It likes Leo, but it's not in its dignity, although it is paired with the Sun in its dignity and is the ultimate dignity. But it is this, like, you know, the integrity of your true heart self, the integrity of your spiritual heart self. And if it's not in alignment in that place, God is pointing at that and saying that that needs to be the space that you need to focus on right now. We also can add the Juno element to things, which is kind of a big deal. You know, so there's a lot there. Hold on. I was supposed to call my grandmother, and I'm letting her know that I'm going to try in 20 minutes. I feel bad. I couldn't even talk to everybody on my birthday yesterday, including my own grandmother, and I feel horrible about it. Somebody noticed my shirt. Well, my favorite color is like light turquoise. That's what's cool about Astro Gold, is you can create your own charts. Like, this is how I do my charts. Now, a lot of people don't like when I do black planets. I like black planets because it's like bang. And if you notice, most chart systems will use like colored planets, or that's why I liked astro.com, but also with astro.com it's very limited because, like, let's take for this chart example, there's a chart explorer here. So we can take the position of Venus, let's say Mercury is on it, right? So we can take a look at the declination. We could take a look at the last time that it went direct, right? It's 250 days ago, and the retro is 293 days away at 21 degrees. So on May 12th, 2020, it'll come retrograde. And what's interesting too here is you can also get like the speed, of course. So, you know, right now it is doing about 1 degree and 13 minutes a day of speed. So every day you can count on Venus doing this 13 minutes, like 1 degree and 13 minutes a day. So, like, let's go to Jupiter, which is stopped. And we can look at Mars, Jupiter. So we got Jupiter stopped. So Jupiter here is doing 3 minutes a day. It's not going to go anywhere until the direct motion on the 11th. It's, you know, its retrograde was 105 days ago. It's coming to the end of its retrograde zone, and it comes direct here on August 11th at 14 Sag, 30 degrees. So 1458. So, you know, it's not going to move much more. Jupiter is a big planet too, and it is pretty much stopped. And Mars is trying to empower this Jupiter, even though Jupiter's in its home sign and Mars is not. So Mars is trying to amp up some happiness, because I think that people can start to see the world in a negative space with this Saturn, you know, with South Node, and then you add the Jupiter stopped. You know, I always say that when Jupiter comes to its close, there's this, you know, people kind of are ready for some good luck in their life, for some positivity. And Mars is trying to have that with a yod, by the way, right? Like, there's a big yod to this Mars. So if we take a look at Mars here, Mars, you know, is doing about 38 minutes a day. So it's not doing a degree a day. I remember Mars went direct almost a year ago, on 331 days ago. Remember, it went direct August 27th, 2018, after it went retrograde June 26th of 2018. We got the next Mars retrograde September 9th at 28 degrees of Aries on September 9th of 2020. So we're almost halfway through the Mars cycle, which is ironic because Mars just passed the position of the opposition point of 9 degrees Aquarius when it went retrograde last year. So there's a lot of closing cycles going on from the eclipses, which I didn't mention that much this week, but I did in prior weeks on Deep Astrology, that you have to remember that Mars is coming into the zone here as we move into the days of where all the eclipses happen, right? So Mars can cut eclipses off. Mars is cutting off last year's eclipse at 18 degrees of Leo on July 30th, ironically enough. This is going to be the day later on, if you watch this, when Mercury will be coming direct. So Mars will be crossing over here at 18, and Mercury will be stationary, direct, coming into the 31st, and you're going to see, boom. So you will see on the evening of July 31st, Mercury come direct, and Mars will have left that eclipse zone, and a new moon will have happened. So really, this July 31st is pretty big with Mercury direct, new moon, Mars cutting off that eclipse cycle. And then we just have that last eclipse that's coming up to cut out, which is the 28-degree eclipse that was really powerful because that was a total eclipse. And that one was really strong. Plus, we're going to have Mars and Juno meet up. That's very positive. There's a lot of relationship things coming up here with Sun, Venus conjunction at 21 degrees of Leo. And then if you see Mars will be at the 28th degree where that solar eclipse was on August 21st, 2017 to cut out that energy from a couple years ago, ironically enough with a full moon in Leo. A full moon in Aquarius, but the Sun in Leo with Venus there. So there's a lot of big relationship things that are coming. And if we look at what's today, July 24th, all within now till this August 15th, and then even moving forward. Remember, Jupiter comes direct on the 11th, right? So that's a big deal. And then you can move forward here, and you're going to see Mars come into Virgo. And so you're going to see this major conjunction of Mars-Venus at 4 degrees. That's on August 24th. So within the next month, we've got a lot of relationship situations coming about. We also have this North Node and Sirius coming together, especially if we take a look at some of the sheets and we take a look at some of these star aspects. Do they have Sirius here? Sirius moon sets. Yeah, we're looking at that date, but I'm wondering if on here I can set my preferences here. If I can add a star. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, no, hold on. Okay. Aspected. Alright. Stars. Stars set for aspect. Yeah, brightest stars. I can't add ecliptic stars. But anyway, if we come to the clock now, that's the one thing is they really do not show the stars on here unless I'm missing something about that. But like if we take like astro.com, like and we do a little extended chart selection, and we do here we'll do me, or you know what we'll do. Well, this is such an old program here. Oh my gosh, I have so many people. Let's actually create somebody that I don't need here anymore. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I might know. Pajan, I don't remember this person. So let's do the edit birth data, and let's do live show. Let's do an event. Let's do for, when was that in the astrology here? It was the North Node's going to come to 16. Yeah, so August. Well, let's do it for August 18th. We're going to have Mars coming into Virgo that day. The Sun and Venus will have met. Let's see what this Sun, Venus, full moon, and Mars at 28. Let's do it for the 14th. I think it was the 15th. I think we'll do it for that. That'll be the best. We can do a little August action here. We can do a little 2019. Let's throw it into noon, and let's do. Well, I'm in Huntington Beach, so all right. Let's continue. Now here we go. Let's do extended chart. So I'll show you guys how I run my whenever I do stuff for people on Astro. I'll do natal progression solar arc, but we're not needing that today. You can do default style, so house system. I'm a Placidus guy. I also use Coke, and I also use Porphyry, or we can do like whole sign with Aries as the first house. Like, we can do that. I use the true node, I use the descending node, I use traditional decans, I use Ptolemy decans, I do the zodiacal release, but that won't make sense for this case. I use access to Chiron. We want to throw in all this, and then, you know, like here we'll add Sirius. You know, we could add Regulus, we could add, you know, Aldebaran. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here we go. Spica, Algol. Did I lose all these? Yeah, they always mess me up with that. So we go like this. All right, here we go. You guys all still with me? All right. And landscape, if possible, sometimes would be cool. All right, we got it here. So on that day, we could see here, so here's Sirius, 14. This north node keeps getting much closer to where Sirius is, okay, the star. Now, of course, Algol is at 26. Aldebaran, it's kind of interesting, is at 1003, and then Taurus now is at 1002. These are exact positions. Regulus is now at 0006. So, you know, Sirius, you have to kind of go backwards sometimes and go towards the ancients, where the ancients were was about 16 degrees, but now it's at 14. So it's going to be interesting to see, and also this is, of course, the true node I'm using. But it is interesting that Spica as well is at 24. That Pluto-Saturn stuff next year is going to be really hitting that star hard. The Sirius star is being hit exactly by Saturn in opposition, and so we are going to see this North Node Saturn aspect pretty intense on Sirius in the coming months ahead, in September especially, when we get to see Saturn get very close. As Saturn comes to 13, then Saturn and the South Node are going to meet. Saturn will then come direct, as you can see here. Oh, I guess we're back. I lost you for a second. As you can see here, Saturn North Node will be at 1425. Saturn South Node. So Saturn is going to come to 14. Bam. With the North Node passing, with Saturn opposing Sirius, all at the September 28th time, when we are going to be the Sun in its fall position. Mars will be coming into its detriment at that time. If you see ahead, bam. We are going to be getting into some serious waters in October. Venus will be in its home sign. We'll be coming over where the 25th degree is, where it went direct after the retrograde in 2018. Oh, wait, what? It says real life. Like, I don't know why it keeps going in and out. See, this is why I'm on YouTube all the time now. Like, I'm showing maximum bitrate and maximum speed. Oh yeah, you guys are totally seeing the inner workings of how I do my astrology. So anyway, October is definitely where I start to be very honest with people. We're going to see some really weird shit, because there's going to be no more time. This is going to be major squares as well to North Node on Sirius, with Saturn opposing Sirius, with the Sun. I mean, look at this. And Venus then coming into its detriment, its detriment in Scorpio. Mars in its detriment. This is very detrimental, and also at its fall position. Uranus is at its fall. And that's why I'm saying that right now, folks, this is a very big time to use this energy as best as you can. The Jupiter-Neptune square will be over, and Jupiter will be the most positive thing, but it's getting its good aspects now. And the Jupiter will be supporting the Sun after it comes through all this, and especially when it's getting ready to square off with Pluto. There'll be this nice aspect here, but, you know, Mars and Chiron in opposition and its detriment, like Juno and Virgo. It's going to be a very weird time coming up here, and that's why I'm saying use this energy now. I mean, if also Uranus is about to come retrograde here, and when Uranus comes retrograde in Taurus, there's going to be all this energy of really, and if you see this is in between all that time as the Sun and Venus are trying to connect. Uranus retrogrades. It's like it pulls the, I don't want to say the rug between us, but it definitely kind of sets this for a really, kind of electric storm to kind of go shit. And we do have the occulting of the moon over Pluto right before this happens. So there's going to be some weird stuff coming up here. And that's why I'm saying that, like, now, this is the time. Like, this is the beautiful moment. And, like, to not really waste it. And I think that maybe this was just another way for me to show people and to show everybody out there what really is going on and how to kind of, use these energies much better, Somebody put, so even our new beginnings will encounter turbulence ahead. I mean, I wouldn't say that necessarily. I would just say that what's coming up, I mean, just like we'll have some, let's just take a look at this. Like, let's take a look at January 10th of 2019, okay? Or sorry, 2020. We're already like, whoop, there. And then let's move the hours back. So this is going to be pretty intense, everyone. So, Sun, Mercury conjunct, Saturn, Pluto coming into their conjunction on the 12th. But this is a lunar eclipse at 20 degrees. Let's move it 1 hour. Boom. Lunar eclipse at 20 with Mercury there. Ceres in between all that. Jupiter south node. Remember, this is going to be in the middle of an eclipse season because 2 weeks prior to that, we can just do 2 weeks. We can just go 1, 2, bing. We're going to be on December 27th, and we do have, not month, we want day. We're going to have this, solar eclipse on Christmas. And so that 2 week cycle is going to be this major Capricorn buildup. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then Mercury's coming into Capricorn. Bam. That's a lot going on. And the South Node and the Sun, the South Node and Jupiter, the two biggest energies, the two most positive, and a sign that kind of restricts things. And there's not going to be a lot of like leeway. It's also a Venus and Mars retrograde year. It's going to be a Venus retrograde before a Mars retrograde. Where last in 2018 we had a Mars retrograde and then a Venus retrograde. So there's definitely going to be, at this point, things will be revealed pretty intensely about this next 35-year cycle. It's technically, they call it a 33-year cycle, but to me, it's this 35 to 37 years of like this whole new paradigm shifting of Saturn, Pluto, and government and control, and if you're on your higher destiny in your life, and with South Node with Jupiter in its fall position, there is going to be maybe this over belief system, and I've been calling this kind of the a little bit of the false message coming out with Mercury occulting Saturn and Pluto on its first conjunction in Capricorn since the 1500s, but even more so with a node there. As you see, Mercury is going to come on Saturn and Pluto and cross it right as it happens with a lunar eclipse, like that's right before it. And that lunar eclipse is pretty gnarly. And, it's definitely not something to play around with, especially when you look over at the zone right now. It's pretty chill. And Mars is going to come on in Taurus right after that time. So, there's a lot to start to realize here. Mars also getting ready for that Regulus here on August 15th. That's why I'm saying that this is a time to really use the energy for your advantage and at your best, energy that you can. Other than that, there also is the star Algol, which is the one that created alcohol. That's why it's really negative to be on alcohol, and the spirits that come out that could be demonic and so forth comes from the star Algol. We are going to have Saturn and Pluto getting ready for trines to this space. So this can also create kind of like a, like a very kind of Death Star-like energy. But I wouldn't say it's turbulent as much as, like, are you really sure that you know what you're getting into? You know what you're committing to? You know what you're really preparing yourself for? Like, are you aware of what you can really get yourself kind of locked into? That's why this is a moment before that Jupiter and Mars trying to give you this opportunity to know your heart. And if it's not in your heart, and it's like, why even go through with it? Why drag it along? Why drag anything along that's not there fully? Because, you don't want to go through that vibe when that comes. That's not going to be a fun situation. So to add the deacon wheel inside of Astro, you got to go into extended chart selections, and so I add traditional deacons and I add Ptolemies. So let's take a look at where Pluto and Saturn are going to meet. Mars, Mercury in Capricorn. Mars is in Ptolemies and with Mercury here. So Mars, Mercury is definitely going to be a very big, fast, rapid identification change for 35 years that are going to begin. Dealing with Capricorn, 10th house, Capricornian world, regulations and so forth. It's kind of interesting, too, that, the end of Leo is Mars, right? Okay? That's why Regulus kind of rules the warrior and the king who wins battles but can fall from grace. And we're having that. The Sun-Venus conjunction at 21 degrees is going to happen in a Jupiter-Mars aspect. That is really positive and beautiful, actually. There's kind of an explosion, so there's definitely aligning with the right people over this next month to kind of step into the intensity and the craziness that's coming up, So, you can use these deacons in a lot of different ways. There's lots of different deacons to use. It's interesting to always see these fixed star positions and how they are kind of moving as well. In the tropical, especially, like Antares is now at 10:02. I was born with Antares at 9:48 or whatever. It's moving. Things are moving. Like we are in a moving universe. And this Regulus at 0 degree, it's getting ready for when the new Aquarian age comes, and we start to begin that at when Jupiter, Saturn at the end of 2020 meet at 0 Aquarius, which is Saturn, Uranus. There's definitely going to be a very intense, quincunx in conjunction over to Regulus. So how do we bring this new age, and how does it deal with more of that, meek energy, that harvesting of a true nature, a more beautiful place, but also like that purity sense. The reason why things are really confusing for a lot of people right now as well, if we just kind of take a look at these deacons, is Neptune, of course, is retrograde in Mercury and Moon zone. So there's a lot of confusing emotional, mental aspects going on in people's soul work right now, and it's affecting them. There was a Jupiter Moon here in these periods when it was especially... for a long time now, we're, Neptune also, when the Civil War happened, was right here, Pluto Saturn, when Neptune went into Aries. And it was actually at 29 when the activation of a lot of this stuff showed up. So the separatism and a lot of this stuff hasn't even seen. And this is a very mentally and emotionally difficult place, but it's about to go to Pluto, Mars, Pluto, Saturn. That's why I use Ptolemy. Ptolemy is going to add kind of an element that, I'll be honest with you, is not maybe what you want to see. The reason why Aries is the exalted part, or we call that the new year of astrology, is because, you can see right here, and actually I think I can go a little bit closer. Okay. Yeah, we got that Jupiter, Mars right there, that explosion point, right? What's interesting at the beginning of Leo is Sun, Saturn, like controlling light power. Or the moon and Mars, Cancer, right? I'm emotional, like very powerful emotions. Or, when you get into Gemini, right? It's Mercury, or Taurus, Venus. But the sun's energy has to be harnessed. Like if it's not harnessed, it would go way too crazy. So you notice that the sun doesn't line up. If you add traditional with Ptolemy's deacons, you're not going to get sun. Sun would be just, I am sun with my rising and so forth, but sun's a lot of energy, and it's hard to harness that vibe. also with Venus, right? Venus is, and Saturn is exalted in Libra, and you get Venus in Libra, you get Venus Saturn. Relationships have to have a structure to them in order to be defined as a relationship. And Scorpio, of course, is going to be Pluto Mars, right? It's going to be the two rulers in their extreme aspects. And the reason why things got very weird at the 2014 and 2015 points of the Saturn transit in Scorpio, and with Mars retrograde in 2016 there, and even in 2018 with Jupiter retrograde or finishing here, was you get to this Moon Saturn. That's very difficult at the end degrees of Scorpio. That's why Scorpio can be a very harsh stinger at the end. But also, this is how the only way that you transcend to higher realms is when you get to Jupiter right after that. You have to have that beauty there. And then we get Saturn Venus at the beginning of Capricorn, and we end with a Saturn Mercury. Like, what did we learn? What did we achieve? What did we, the message of achievement gets out there, but this is also where people revolt, opposed to where there's a control of the people at the beginning of Capricorn. People start to do more different things here with Mercury Mars. This is going to be very intense, but when we get to Mercury Saturn, these are two malefics that are at the end of Capricorn. With Mercury, which is the ruler of neutrality, but can take on the role of a benefic or a malefic. But I don't want to get into all these. I can talk to you all for hours about all this stuff. I don't want to, get anybody bored. It looks like I lost like 70 people, so looks like too much for people. But a lot, it's funny. A lot of this stuff, is right in front of people's faces in charts every day. But you don't see people talking about it, which kind of blows my mind. But you got to look at all this. This is what creates the astrology that really starts to get deeper, and you've got to look at all these different elements and all these different aspects. So there's some really good times ahead, but it's like, use them and don't abuse them. Use them and don't abuse them. And definitely think that this Taurus vibe, if we just come back to today and then I'm going to end the segment to call my grandmother, is if you come back to the clock now, we got this sun, we've got this moon in square, and we've got this Mercury over Venus. So, use the best. And I will be real and sorry, I'm using two computers, but so if I use David Palmer, so this is what I was born with: a moon in Taurus and a sun in Leo. It's what I know, and it's just what I know. I know that vibe. I know what feels good. I know what's not. I know what's part of the kingdom and what's not. I know and so this is the only 2 days or 2.5 days that I can do as an astrologer. Like, this is my vibe. This is who I am. And this is where I can teach the best people. And this is where a lot of this teaching is trying to come across, especially in the deep astrology, and especially where things are at this moment in our lives and how important that this really is. So, especially with an exalted moon and the sun in its exaltation, or a dignity. So, there's a lot there, So, I hope that all helps. I'm actually not calling my Oma. I'm calling my Nana. I'm calling my Palmer side. But I will definitely do that. I love you all. It was great to speak with you all. Definitely check out High Vibe. We just did a lot of cool stuff. Craig's been real busy. Abby's been real busy. I've been real busy. But we have been doing a lot of different work. And we have redone a lot of the website with new graphics, with the cards, the free content, the intuitive, and there's a lot of free content on there. And this is also where you can get, my spiritual dance music. There's tons of free stuff. So if you want to, and also Kim is doing awesome paintings where you can learn how to paint. Peace Dealer, Rachel have a talk. I have all of my talks here, and I'm adding a bunch of extra free content. That's there. Or if you go into the catalog, and this is even without me signed in, you can go check out, my daily horoscopes every day, or, if you want to filter through authors, so like if you want to watch something from Steph Baker or the Peace Dealer, if you go to the Peace Dealer, you can watch all of his videos that he puts out every week, or with me, it's every day, and with me, you can go to just my daily horoscopes, or you could click on my weekly sun sign horoscopes, and they'll all be right there. Or you can go to my weekly tarot, and then that'll show up every week. or, you know, all the deep astrologies, they're there, and you can watch them from here, and it's pretty cool. So there's a lot of work going on at High Vibe, and I appreciate you all very much. So thank you for being a part of it, and thanks for about the app. We're doing some cool stuff. I did float in a tank, and yeah, it was a very interesting experience, and I have a really crazy mind, so it definitely brings a lot of that stuff up. So anyway, I gotta roll. I love you all very much. I will see you all soon. It was fun to be here on Facebook Live. I'm going to post this video on YouTube so the YouTube people don't get upset. And I just want to let you know I'm all still here. And thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support. And I'll see you all later. Bye.